Mansi. Warm greetings to everyone. Welcome to today's session of Monday Munching and Musing with Women for Water. Today is definitely another special session because we have most of the members of our Youth Council. We have already crossed a good benchmark of completing more than 50 sessions in the last few weeks itself. And today, with youth as our speakers on this iconic day of 2nd of October. The Monday Munching and Musing with Women for Water is conducted with the support of the Water Resources Council of the Women's Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, abbreviated as WICCI-WRC, and in collaboration with W4W Foundation, and our media partner is Counterview. My name is Vandana Tripathi. I'm the National Youth Council for WICCI-WRC, and along with me, I'm privileged to have Dr. Mansi Balbhargav, National President of the WICCI Water Resources Council, and also the founder director of W4W Foundation. Welcome, Mansi. I'm glad to start the conversation. Namely Monday Munching and Musing with Women for Water, which we colloquially refer to as Blue Lips. The conversation is aimed to share the worries and wisdom by the women, for the women, of the women in the water sector. In here, we hope to learn about the water endeavors of the women in a very regular, disciplined manner like a masterclass. And today is a special day as we are here to listen and know more about 4 speakers are there today, namely Shreya Gurun, Radhika Mulay, Proshakha Maitra, Kalpana Patel. All of them are our Youth Council members, and a huge welcome to all the guests here today. Since we are going to start with 4 speakers now, I would like to give this opportunity to each one of you to briefly introduce yourself. Your introduction can quickly catch up your current engagements, what you are doing presently, and how you really got into the water sector. We can start with Proshakha, with you.
Yes. So good evening. I am currently working as a research fellow with EDRC, and I'm also involved in a few projects. So I got into the water sector during my academic courses. I did my graduation in geography from Loreto College, and then I pursued my post-graduation in natural resources and management. During my coursework, I had to travel, and I became interested in this field mainly during my studies, which focused on environmental science and sustainability. So this education laid the foundation for understanding several water related challenges, such as scarcity, pollution, and the climate change impacts. Subsequently, I pursued opportunities to work with organizations and projects which were dedicated to water resource management. And my passion for this sector grew as I saw the tangible impact it could have on communities and the environment.
Very good to hear that, Proshakha. I would also like to hear from the other speakers. Shreya, can we proceed with you?
Good evening, everyone. It's so lovely to be here. Thank you for having me. My name is Shreya, and I completed my master's in disaster management from TIS Mumbai. And I think at that point I was at home. I had come back home after a very long time, and I was staying there, and I was also doing my master's on the side. So I got very much into the disaster aspect of my place, which is Kalimpong. And I realized that water was a very important part in landslides or when any disaster takes place. Water is the first thing that gets impacted. Water is also the aggravator, and water can also be the diffuser. And I got very much interested into it. I specialized in GIS mapping, and that's when I got more and more acquainted with the sort of geography of my region. I really did not like geography much in school, but when I was doing my master's, I got really involved in it, and I realized that it was very important. Currently, I'm working in an environmental conservation organization called TD. It's based in Darjeeling, and we work with waste management, and we are also currently working with grey water and black water management as well. We have 3 zero waste villages that we have established, and we hope that we can in the future also work on water and both these grey and black water management.
Very good. Thank you, Shreya. Over to you, Radhika, to quickly introduce yourself.
Hello, hi, I'm Radhika Mulay. I'm based in Pune. I'm currently working at Center for Water Research at ICER. And my interest in water sector grew during my academic education courses similar to Proshakha, where I realized that whenever I was given a chance to select my assignment topic, I invariably would move towards water related issues. And that idea became quite solid actually after the 2013 Kedarnath flood disaster. Me and my sister, we were part of the basic mountaineering course in Uttarkashi and witnessed the disaster upfront. So when I came back from the mountaineering course, we had a class called environmental law, in which I decided to review the river management policies of Uttarakhand state. And that specific assignment for me became the deciding point that I would further want to do my specialization in water science policy and management from Oxford University, UK. Since then, I have been working with different environmental organizations in Pune, namely Kalpavriksha. Then I had worked briefly in an organic farm for a year. And then I worked with Gomukh, where I was part of a research project related to the Ganga River, the heads and tails of Ganga. And now I'm presently working at Center for Water Research. So that's me in brief.
Thank you, Radhika. Just last but not the least, Kalpana, could you briefly introduce yourself as well?
Sure. Thank you so much, everybody, and a very good evening for having me here today. So my name is Kalpana, and currently I am working with the sustainability team at Decathlon. And talking about how I developed interest in water. So it was during my bachelor's days in TESS, and I got to work with Dr. Rajendra Singh, who is also called as the Waterman of India. So when I met him and when I looked at his projects, I also looked at the kind of impact that the projects were making and why it was important. So I think I understood the importance of this particular domain there itself. Then I also did my undergrad thesis on a similar topic, which was against drought and the impact, the livelihood impact that it makes, especially in the rural areas for farmers communities. Post that, I also did my master's in water science and governance, and I feel that also being with Mansi ma'am has been pretty much factor for me to understand how important this entire vertical is, and also listening from a lot of women in water, that the series that we have created, I think it gives me the continuous motivation to keep on working on something like this.
Oh, wow, Mansi, I think we have managed to put in together a good, wonderful team cutting across disciplines, cutting across different parts of India and looking into different domains of water. So I'm so looking forward to the session today. And once again, hearty welcome to all of you. Since you guys are mentioning that you have thrived a lot upon your academic experiences as well as the professional experience and the work that was exposed to you during your academic coursework. Just building on to it today, when you are in our professional realm, can you really share with us in terms of what are the experiences that you really cherish? What kind of tasks or activities have you really enjoyed being in the sector? So maybe we can follow the same order of Proshakha, Shreya, then Radhika, followed to Kalpana. Proshakha, can we get started with you?
Yes. So during my academic times, the main thing, the main exposure that I personally got was the data, the striking facts that what actually the scarcity is. So that somehow helped to develop the professional side of it also, and that further pushed me to work into this. So I was involved in a small internship with the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, which involved going and speaking to the communities. And that was a point that helped me understand that our access to water, what I personally see, is not the case everywhere. So this was one thing where like the real experiences developed the actual activity part too, if I got your question correctly.
Yeah. Shreya, can we
Um,
proceed with you?
Yes. So I think when it comes to education, for me personally, um, when I was doing my studies, when I was in school or even during bachelor's, this topic or this whole concept of, studying about people, studying about your land was not really something that I was interested in. I never really liked studying about geography or history. I was more of a computers person and I liked maths. So uh, for me, I think masters really, really opened that part, that realm for me, where I was pushed to a field that I really loved. I was very passionate about. I did not know I was, but and also a field I felt I needed to be in. So when I was doing my master's, we were, though it was during the lockdown period, we did not get a lot of field exposure. But since I was also working in an NGO at that point, I got to go a lot into the field. And I think that's when I started realizing how interesting it was, how interesting theory and practical merged. And I could, when I was talking to people, when I was mapping rivers, when I was mapping springs, when I was looking at the quality, doing quality analysis, talking to villagers, learning about their stories, about folk tales, I think that really drove me. So I think, um, in education wise, I think we need to be introduced to our land, our story, our roots much more. I think that would interest students, or that would interest us to get into this field, which I sort of feel like I need to or have to be in, if that makes sense.
Oh, it's all making sense, don't worry. Yes, over to you, Radhika.
Uh, for me, what really kept me engaged in the academic aspects was different case studies, and also every subject which was taught in the environmental studies course, some or the other way was related to water. So whether it's law, whether it is governance, atmospheric physics, health, mythology, even GIS, everything for me became about, okay, the bringing together aspect was always water. So I think that is what kept me interested in the sector. And also then during work, I feel the field visits were really eye-opening, because uh, trying to understand the theory and then making sense of it on field was a great learning process, to make sense of what is really happening and what is really not. And in terms of research work, I feel I've started enjoying the historical context, understanding the historical context of even, let's say, a water system technology, of why the technology even came into our systems, water management systems in the first place, what has happened with the technology. So I think these are some entry points which I've started uh, enjoying, and which have also kept me going in the field. And at the same time, I also feel in my work experience, I've worked in NGO action research group, and now in a research organization which is based in an academic institution. So also trying to understand how um, the same subject can be looked from different lenses, different approaches, and different ideologies is very interesting. So I think that is what keeps me going on.
Great, great. Kalpana?
So for me personally, it has been, as I already mentioned, it came from my first ever interaction since I was studying social sciences. I was studying gender, and it gave me the perspective of studying water and gender. So I realized that, it's everywhere when we talk of specifically about science or social science, or it's there in the society. So my first ever experience started from, because I also did my college from a place which is a very drought prone area, which is Marathwada. So I had my continuous field experiences where I was visiting the villages where there was like continuous issues of water shortages and water crisis. So I think that drew my personal attention. And then later on with my undergrad thesis and even like my exposure with the organizations, be it like research organizations or working with the state governments, or even just to understand that, we have understood that 70% of us itself is water. So it starts from you. So it varies from, from yourself to national and international issues. So I think that gave me that continuous push that it's better to understand this particular domain a little more, with a little more scientific approach also, to even, pursue it as a career later on. Talking about as of now, so right now, I think even with WRI, my experiences were where, there are a lot of case studies, there are a lot of research that is being done. And as of now, also, like, looking into the sustainable development aspect, we definitely deal with water as one of the component for our environment sustainability. So that is something that I'm continuously doing.
Wow, so I think what each one of you have shared, if I were to simplify it for our audience who's going to watch the video a little later, that, studying water from different lens has been something which has been very exciting for each one of you, right from locating the data to sort of building a story around it, to sort of come out and learn the context or the history behind the particular aspect related to water. And most wonderful aspect is actually that in different settings, most of you have got the opportunity. So it has been a huge learning experience that, we are able to sort of understand the same issues from different lenses. So thank you for sharing that wonderful insight. Since Monday Munching is all about celebrating women leadership and, so the questions from now would be, towards more on women leadership. So to get started onto that, the first, I would like to know if you guys have any professional inspiration whom you follow, chase. It can be from essentially from water sector or not from water sector. If you have more than one inspiration, please feel free to share that as well. Again, we can continue with the same order if that is okay with everyone. So Proshakha, you go first.
Yes, sure. So before I became a part of WICCI, I was not aware that there are so many women who are working in the water sector and who are very interested in working in the water sector also. So I would say that all the members that we have, they all are an inspiration to me, because seeing their work, I come to know that there is so much scope. And if you want to do something, you have around 80 to 90 members to support you and walk alongside you. So I think all the members of WICCI, they themselves are an inspiration to me in this sector.
Okay, cool. Shreya?
So inspirations are many. I think every day I'm inspired and just blown away by the different people that are working in this field. But I think specifically my journey on water and my journey about understanding the stories of this place comes from this woman called Minkit Lepcha. She is a storyteller. She wears different hats, but she likes to go by the name of a storyteller. She's written, I think, shared on the group as well, Rivers of Stories of Tista. So she basically tries to capture the stories, that the folk tales that are getting lost, of our land, of the water. She believes that water carries a lot of stories with it, of humans, of animals, of all beings. And for Stories of Tista, she basically traced the entire river from source to where it meets Bay of Bengal, and she collected stories from various communities, and she's made a movie out of them. And I think that's also her sort of what she wants to do. She wants to collect all these stories before they disappear, because as we are losing the generation before us, we're losing a lot of knowledge that is not passed down. And I think in my profession, in my field also, I have really got to experience this, because when I was working with her, we were she told me to create a map of this particular place called Mahakal Dada. And its legends know, I mean, the entire Darjeeling town knows that, that this place protects and holds Darjeeling. And it has a lot of stories. Like they say that this place is, it has a knot, and if it opens, it's going to be the destruction, so there are many stories like that. But, stories stay as stories, as in people don't really give a lot of importance. So she told me, can you make a map for this? Let's see how it plays out. And I had made a map, and it was so interesting that this place was actually, is actually a water tower. It is in the center of 3 watersheds. And there's a lot of history to it, where it used to feed into a lake that was actually completely destroyed when the Britishers came in. So for me to sort of be able to tap into those kind of stories and then do a little bit of my own research and findings to see it all come through, I think that's what she's taught me, to use my knowledge, the tools I have and all of that. And I think that's why I really, really look up to her, the way she tells all these stories, the way she respects the river as if it is actually, it's that ways. I mean, she's been a real inspiration for me in this field.
Wonderful to hear about that. And definitely Mansi has already mentioned that we would also like to reach out to her. We do multiple series, and if any of these you could help us to get connected with her, we would definitely love to host her as well.
Yes.
Over to you, Radhika.
I'm a bit stuck right now because I don't have one person whom I could say that has been inspirational to me to work in this sector. Because over the period of time, there have been so many women whom I've met during field visits, and now I feel bad, but I possibly don't even remember names of many of them. But it's been those women and many researchers whom I have come across during the work process. So I don't really have one specific person, but I can think of one person who's not just an inspiration in this field, but an overall person who's driving me to work. Is to give a context. I'm also a dancer. I'm a professional Bharatanatyam dancer, and so recently, because I just mentioned, I've started getting interested in historical context understanding. So I started reading about the history of Bharatanatyam and came across a book on Rukmini Devi Arundel, who was known as the pioneer of Bharatanatyam dance form as we see it today. And while I was reading her biography, I understood that she was not just a dancer who started an institution by herself and was a choreographer, but she was also a member of parliament and was responsible for passing the bill related to cruelty against animals. And later, she was also offered the position to be the president of India. Unfortunately, she declined the offer. But when I read that story, it was very beautiful and inspirational for me, is because as a researcher and a dancer, I have been coming across different narratives from people who keep saying that if you are a dancer, you can't be a good researcher. If you're a researcher, you can't be a good dancer. So it's been quite a troubling insight to get about oneself. So I've been trying to find examples, and this one example has stuck with me, that you do not necessarily have to be just one person. You can be doing multiple things and be good at multiple things and excel in them, and still have do things which you intend to do. So yeah, it's like if artists and dancers in the history could do it, why can't we today also be doing that? So yeah, I think that's something that I hold on to. Her story is something that I hold on to as an inspiration every time I come across people who sort of compare or sort of try to generalize. So yeah, so Not
very
related to
good
water,
to
but-
know that you are a great artist, and Mansi did mention it to me sometime back that we have to also know about that. So thank you for lucidly mentioning that, and also, bringing out the rather unknown fact about Rukminiji. Even I didn't know that she was offered such a leadership role in the past. So thank you for sharing that. Kalpana?
So for me, I think, again, I just cannot take one name. What comes to my mind is from where this entire inspiration or the source of inspiration came. And from there on, I have had like multiple experiences where I've met a lot of people who are like, keeping that motivation in me. So I think it started with my experience with Medha Patkar, where since I also come from Madhya Pradesh, I have been to Badwani area where she actively works. So I think this entire fact that, that I knew that this entire water system or the issues around water could give her the mission for her life. She has dedicated her own life for this entire thing. So I think that was a very big change for me, because I also came I was pretty new in the sector at that point of time. And then I met Rajinder Singh and then many other people. So I think my inspiration started from there. Gradually, I also, when I was working like in my field experiences and all of that, I met a lot of women, especially I'm talking about few drought prone areas, Marathwada, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, and also Rajasthan, where these women are solely responsible for taking care of water and, ensuring that there is enough water in the household. So I think they also have acted as a major influence on me, since that, I see them doing everything. Apart from that, they are also responsible for this. So I think that gave me the motivation that if I can contribute to this sector, that would bring a lot of impact. And moving on, then I've had a lot of people from WICCI-WRC, where I've read so much about them, even seen their YouTube videos. So I think at each point of time, in knowing that, you can be in a very different sector, but how you're driven with the passion for water, and then you are doing something in the sector of water, gives me a different level of motivation and influence on different levels altogether. So it's a continuous journey, I guess.
Well, deeply appreciate what each one of you tried to convey, that, it's very hard to sort of put it or nail it to one person or one event for that matter. So let me go a little further into this step, because it's really important for us as women to kind of, what can really inspire in future as well. So because the conversation is also around leadership aspect, maybe if you could throw some light on what kind of aspects in terms of skills did you really like in your inspirations? It could be from any of the sources that you mentioned, being on field visit or being a well-renowned leader, or somebody from a distant field of work altogether, be it dancing also. So maybe if you could throw some lights, that what did you really look up to in terms of skills in those inspirational souls that have inspired you in your professional journey? Maybe we reverse the order this time. So Kalpana, let's go first with you, and then I come back towards the end to Proshakha.
All right. So I think for me, the sheer skill that if I have to say one, is dedication. And when I say dedication, since we talk of a sector which is, of course, pretty rich in terms of knowledge and expertise, but we do not see very much dedicated professionals who are in the field. There is a lot of research and all of that. So I think that the sheer skill and that motivation to be in this particular field and ensure that, we have more people to join this field, because looking at these kind of people only, we will have more people to join the sector. So I think that particular dedication and the fact that you have to be very sensitive and selfless, especially in this sector at times, because it is a very sensitive topic, especially when you are talking about experiential learning and when you are in the field. It is, and also at national and international level, it is a very sensitive topic. So to have that leadership and that selfless behavior and attitude to foster this domain and reach out to more and more people and create that impact. So I think all of this is something that I've learned from the kind of people I've met.
Great. Radhika, would you like to add to that, what Kalpana has already mentioned?
Yeah, I think I'll draw from her the idea of dedication, in the sense that whatever task comes in front of you at that moment, doing it to the utmost possibility of perfection is, I think, something that I try to learn, because I think that is also how someone like Rukmini Devi, because I spoke about her, I think was able to manage being so many having so many roles, is that when she was a dancer, she was a dancer, she was there. And when she was sitting in the parliament speaking about animal rights, she was right there. So I think being in that moment and trying to be as perfect as possible and as precise as possible is something that yeah, I'll take.
Great. Shreya, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, so I totally get what even Kalpana and Radhika are talking about. I think being dedicated, being there, that's something that is really important. And I think the other thing is what I have seen in people that I really look up to is, if they're delegating a task to me, they know it. They know that task really well. And I think that has really pushed me to do better, because I'm like, okay, I'm not, it's not like that person is completely dependent on me. And I think that's something really important in leadership. I think I try my best to, if I am delegating work to someone, I should be able to do it myself. Otherwise, I should learn. I think that's something that I've taken away. And another very important skill that I've learned that I need to, in this particular field that I am in, say waste management and even disaster management, is people skill. It's because people don't understand, it's not their fault. I think it's the whole system that we live in. It's really difficult to make people understand that this is for your own good, so how to go about it and sort of get people to understand that, we don't have enough time. We don't have enough time. We don't have the, the pleasure of just sitting and just throwing garbage out or just polluting our rivers. And so for that, we've really, it's been really difficult, but I have really seen it in the leaders, how they navigate around people, how they speak to people, how they try and explain to people, not giving them so much of a shock with like a lot of data and but like actually being very genuine. And I think those two things for me.
Wonderful, wonderfully put also, Shreya, being genuine there. And let me just hear last from Proshakha also, then we come back to others.
Yes. So for me, what inspires me the most in people is actually their mindset. Like, given the scale of the problem that we are facing today with respect to water, I feel that more than knowledge, it is important for us to have that willpower to change. Like, we want to do something. So knowledge is definitely important. It's important to know how to do it, but at the same time, I feel that first we should have that mindset of doing something. And like water in its various forms and functions, the way it constantly adapts to its surroundings, I am inspired by leaders in the sector who are innovative thinkers and who adapt to changing circumstances, and are also open to embrace new technologies and methodologies that improve the overall management.
Wow. I think you guys have provided so many deep thinking points to us that we really would like to have renewed lessons about leadership perspective from the youths like you. So thank you for sharing those insights with us, because it will make a lot more sense, Mansi, for our documentation on women leadership. These viewpoints, we will really have to kind of put it all together. I'm curious, Radhika, since you have worked in different kinds of settings, do you see a huge variation in terms of these skills components across levels, or Do you see any specific barriers to these skills being recognized in women in these different settings? Are there many barriers to it? Because I'll just to give you a context why we are asking this question is that we are all celebrating women leadership, yeah, and we are all part of some or the other leadership role in our individual professional realm, so to speak. But we still find a huge dearth. I mean, Mansi is very much here, and I will shortly add her to the conversation where in the past also, if those of you in the audience who have seen our videos also, you would realize that it's a challenge to find women and leaders. So if these inspirations, these skills are there, what else do you think could be a barrier in terms of honing women leadership skills?
I think it's not about skills. I think there are women who are quite skilled and quite capable to be in the leadership positions. But I'd be honest and say here that there was a time when I was quite angry that why are just men sitting in all the leadership positions where in whichever institution I worked in. But I think this is something I realized that this is probably a lag, educational lag that we have faced, that if having a PhD is necessary to be in a leadership role, it is so that women 20 years ago did not go for PhDs. So I think that will change. So in the sense that rather than going into a fighting mode right now, I would like to say that I think we are seeing women who are getting into their PhDs with an aim or doing whatever is necessary in terms of educational qualifications or skills and personality development and field experience, which will put us as women in the position of leadership. So I think it's also a matter of time right now, apart from all the other issues which are related to discrimination. So I think there's a lag when we say in terms of our educational competence and also and therefore experience as leaders, because I guess we'll also as women leaders will start making different kind of decisions which also will lead to different kinds of mistakes. So I think as women researchers and women leaders, I think it's also will be crucial for us to hold each other and stay there, because this is just something that I find very interesting, is that when we are driving on the streets and when we are in the car, this general assumption that women are bad drivers is, I think, going to apply even for women who are in the leadership positions. So as we drive on the streets and try to insist on our presence, and say that, yes, we are also good drivers, I think we'll have to stick there and say that, yes, we are also good leaders. So I think for me, I think it's just a matter of time that we get there, and we are getting there. So yeah, I think.
Well, of course, we'll definitely come back to this leadership aspect shortly again. Just I'm going to throw some more aspects to this leadership aspect that we are discussing. We are all part of one or the other network of associations. Since most of you have worked in different kinds of settings, I'm sure they're also another set of network. And for all of us common here, WICCI-WRC is one set of network. How do you see the role of these kinds of networks or these kinds of pool of women, really honing a leadership altogether for women? Like, we are all in the driver's seat right now, and how do we make sure that our presence is felt? And what do you see particularly the role of women? Maybe Shreya, we can start with you on this one.
So for the first thing, that is of having these kinds of organization, I think it's just like being a part of a community, right? I've been a part of the Zero Waste Himalaya movement, and though I don't know a lot of people around, because I've worked with the people across the states of the Himalayan region, I've realized that there's so many things that is so common. The kind of food we eat, even the kind of culture it's so similar in many ways. And that kind of community just builds. And I think even being a part of Wiki, I've realized that it's a very strong sense of community that you feel. And I think it's very important for us as humans to be a part of a community. We're always doing things in silos and we're just doing it alone. And sometimes it can get really, really upsetting and just like, why am I even doing this? And, nothing is really happening. And then you see all these things happening in other places, and it's because of the community that you see all of these things. I don't think if I was not a part of this community or not, I wouldn't know so many things that were happening around me. So I think that's very important. And the other question about, sorry, what was the other question?
It was mainly linked to the role of councils or
Role of-
networks, etc. Yes.
Yes. So the role of women as well. I've met some amazing, amazing women in my life. I think I've been very lucky. I've been in a household full of women. I've never really had men around me, and like really strong women. And I think that ways I was very lucky, and I think it really shaped the person that I am as well. And to never feel like I don't know, I don't really think we ever felt like we were competing with men. I don't think I felt that, because I was always with women. I mean, even when I was young, or even in my professional field. Right now itself in TD, I think most of us are women here. And we really have this whole sense of, pushing each other, and other person is doing something, and you just feel like, okay, this is so great, and we really celebrate each other. And just seeing them do all these things, and being in so many different roles, I think that's something that's really nice. I think women, I don't know if this is also whatever but I think women are really, really good at multitasking. Like, I think we've really nailed that. And I think that's the reason also we keep ourselves sane. And so I think it's amazing to just see one time, this woman just being out there and speaking in public and really like rallying. And the next moment she's like really feeding you and being like, okay, you need to eat because tomorrow we have to do it like all over again. So I think that's been quite nice.
That's great, Shreya, for sensitizing about the need for awareness, the multitasking aspect, and how council can really provide you to play these multiple roles at the same time. Proshakha, would you like to throw some light on your experience with being part of, WICCI-WRC, and how do you see its role in, boosting women leadership around us?
Sure. So I feel that Wiki has given the opportunity and platform for several women to come forward and also interact, which shows us that there is someone who's also working in this line, which rather boosts us further to war. And I feel that since we are talking about a resource which is a common thing, and it's equally important for men and women, so there should not be any compartmentalizing things like this is the role of women and this is the role of men. This is the role of all of us as humans, because there might be a day where we don't have water, and that day we can't sit and discuss that men have done their roles, women they haven't done. So it's everyone's role together. So I don't feel that women have any particular or separate role to play. It concerns all of us, and we are in it together, and we need to do our parts equally.
Sure. Radhika, your take on this?
As a council, right? The importance. Yeah, I think it's nice that we are even acknowledging the importance of creating these networks at for me, like for example, for me at this age, even to know that, okay, there are so many other people of my age who are working on different aspects related to water. So I think just being aware is something that is quite strengthening. So I think from that that point of view, the council is really crucial. And I think with that awareness also might come a feeling of solidarity, as I mentioned, that we will be in the positions of leadership and will have to make difficult decisions in which we might or might not succeed. And I think this is when we will need networks like this to fall back on and to push each other and to help each other, because I guess we all are in this, like it's always a trial and error. I don't think anyone has a real clear answer. So in that space, having a network to fall back on is very important. So yeah.
Great, Radhika, to show us that there are multiple pathways, and in this pathway of trial and error, we may end up at different destinations at different point in time. Last but not the least, Kalpana, would like to hear your thoughts on this.
Sure. So I think my answer comes from the previous question that you asked, Radhika, when we talk of having women in more and more of leadership positions. So I think especially these kind of networks, these kind of councils that we have, it provides us with certain things. To list down a few, first is the fact that we know that there are a lot of women who are doing certain kind of work and are in leadership position. So I think first we appreciate, acknowledge, and the skills, the kind of work they are doing. Second is we get some level of help in case we need. So we can connect well, not just to appreciate the success of the people who are doing it, and also to understand if we want to reach to a position, how we can connect and how we can reach. So I think this entire community, especially of women for women, it's more like that. So I think it helps us to fill in that gap that has been existing over the decades, that we don't really see women in many leadership positions today. So I think it definitely will aid us to reach over there, because as Radhika has already said, that it's a matter of time. And if we are collaboratively working on this, so we will have more of women in shorter span of time than having a lot of years spent on having few women. So I think that would be aided, and definitely it gives a strong sense of community and that fraternity of sorts. We can say that we have a lot of people who are in the sector. We can understand the kind of work they are doing, and even if we are not doing certain kind of work that they are doing, we definitely have a reason, we definitely have some knowledge that in case if we come across somewhere somebody, we will definitely have something to throw our experience on, or if not, then we can connect people. So I think this is a community where we are growing. We also have that sense of motivation that you asked, and we also will have many more people to motivate on this. So I think this is what I have to say.
Great. Since we are discussing the council and we are discussing the leadership, let me bring Mansi to the conversation, because she has taken this charge of infusing the light of leadership in all the women that she meets across. And Mansi, I think it will be good if you can just jump into the conversation and maybe add your viewpoints. Please feel free to also throw some questions at our speakers and guests today. Yeah. Over to you, Mansi.
Thank you. Thank you, Vandana. Thank you so much. And I was so happily listening to it. Why did you call me to this conversation? So I'm actually preferring always to be a listener than to be speaker, but thanks for conducting it so well. And thanks, girls, to answer it so nicely, and so much to learn from the younger generation. Let me be very honest on that. Let me pick few points, and from there, I would like to ask just a very simple question to all of you. And that's related to, again, leadership and network, which is the conversation going on. So first point, I would like to pick what Proshakha was mentioning, that there will be a day when we will all face water crisis and gender will not be discussed. I would say that there will be a day, I would like to see then, that we don't have to sit and discuss gender. Just like water is neutral, let us also think that we will also live a day when we don't have to discuss gender at all. And that will be when actually we have much more gender equality in all aspects, right from carrying water to deciding about water. But we are not there. We have very skewed proportion of leadership, whereas a skewed proportion of vulnerability. So when we look at the spectrum of women in the water sector. From there, some leadership skills which you all have talked about, and how networks can help. And right now, already Proshakha and Kalpana are working on a professional project with me, and we would like to do more projects together in future, hopefully. And I'm aware that in council, many women are also working with each other. We are trying to explore how we can work with each other. Now it's up to all council members how they would like to exercise, the facilities or the opportunities of council. See, when you join a council or a network, I'm sure you must have thought why to join. What is there for me? And it's a very valid question. Otherwise, why would you invest your time into it? And this is very much pertinent for younger generation, for people like us who have already crossed their career. And especially if I talk about Mansi as a person, I'm done with my career, to be honest. So I really see what approaches, what challenges I faced in my own career can be reduced a little bit with these kind of platforms. So I'm very keen to understand from all of you, if you may answer, when you joined any association or this council, so let me not focus only on our council because we are talking in general, what kind of expectations or what kind of things goes in your head when you think that, okay, these networks can benefit me or in this way or that way? See, it is a win-win for both sides. Council or network benefits from your membership and you benefit from being part of it. So there must be some things which you may throw light upon what WICCI-WRC can do or should do in future so that it can get, first of all, more council members. And second, it can benefit especially the younger generation. Yes, professional collaboration is part of it, but please understand, and I have been saying it time and again, council is as much good as long as it is good, as long as you exercise it. Otherwise, it is just a body. So my question is, what are the things which you would like to get from the council or council should do so that younger generation can benefit more? You can take a call. Vandana, I leave it to you. Who do you want to ask? Maybe I would like to start again with Radhika in this time. So yeah, and then Shreya and Kalpana and Proshakha. I know Kalpana, Proshakha very well, so I'm just giving them a chance later because they have been my students. But otherwise, no reason. Radhika.
I think the reason why I signed up for the council was the very fact, which I also mentioned, just to know that there are so many women working in the water sector, and we don't see them around always. So
Yes.
Even to know that, okay, there are so many women who are working and in different areas and of expertise is very I would say enriching, but also it's a confidence booster that, okay,
Yes,
there is a collective which is out there who shares a similar passion or a similar thought process towards an issue, and that itself is quite strengthening. As part of what I would seek from council, I don't know, this itself is beautiful. So just having
some tangible activities which you may propose, because we are also trying to expand the work of council. So we are trying to get from everyone so that we can sit through and do brainstorming to see what council can do other activities with council members and other members in society.
I think there's something, I don't know how it works, but if we could in our own workspaces try and figure out collaborations, because
Yes.
Because there are different people working in different areas, but probably on the same issues. So if the council could help in bridging those gaps and help us in collaborating, that would be something which would be very useful, because I guess we'll all grow together, learn together. So
well, nicely put, but then council has to know what you are wishing to look for, and that's where we are trying to encourage everyone to share and continue your comments or questions in the group. Otherwise, we don't come to know what is the requirement. I mean, when I got this project, I gave a shout, to all the girls, and then I found the girls. So this is like a two-way process, and that's why I was mentioning that council is good as far as everyone is active. Otherwise, it's a one-way process. Thank you so much, Radhika. Shreya?
I think so. If you can talk about what is the gap right now, I think is everyone is again working in silos. No? So like,
Yeah.
even though there is a council, you need to, yes, definitely you have to be active, but also how to bring that activeness there, right? So there's something very successfully that we have implemented as part of, so we are also a part of this initiative called the Darjeeling Himalaya Initiative, which is a part of the IMI, which is the Integrated Mountain Initiative. And as part of that, we have a sustainable development, mountain development summit at the end of the year, where everybody gets together. When I joined, it was online, but there was also offline. So all the states get together, they send in their representatives. So similar, I mean, it's just an example of what happens there. But at that point, when we all met, I think, or when we all met, even online and even offline, both ways, it was really different because the ideas were different. You are in a different frame of mind. Like as in right now, we are meeting on Mondays, or we are meeting online through videos or even through the group. But when you are in a space where you have to discuss about a certain topic, you're brainstorming about something, you're trying to create action points, you are drafting a pledge. And when you have activities like that, I think it brings people closer. And I have made personally so many friends and so many contacts across the Himalayan state just because of this. The second thing that we do as collectively as the IHR, which is the Indian Himalayan region, is the zero waste cleanup. So every year we do a cleanup, and then we do an audit. So I think that has also brought people together, really things. So activities such as this, it happens once in a year, but it's something that, like, I know from each state, I know that these are the people that I need to reach out to if I want to do something. So those are the kind of activities that brought us together. So it's that's my view. And I think why I joined WICCI was, for me, when I would tell anybody, like, my identity has always been something like, okay, what is your identity? Because I was born in Kalimpong, but I was brought up in Dehradun. I studied in Mussoorie and studied in South. So my Hindi was always better than my own language, my own mother tongue. Now I've learned, so it's better. But, so I would always be asked, where are you from? So I'd be like, Kalimpong. They're like, okay, where's Kalimpong? Darjeeling, have you heard Darjeeling? Yeah, Darjeeling, it's in Northeast. I'm like, no, it's in West Bengal. Oh, Bengali, So it was something. And when I came to Kalimpong, I really wanted to put it on the map. I wanted people to know that every place, even Kalimpong and Darjeeling, though they are the same, has so many different things. Even the style of weaving is different in the two districts. The rivers are different, the two rivers, we have two rivers that is cutting our ridge, whereas in Darjeeling it's a bit different, so I wanted these kind of stories from the ground level, like from particular places, to come up. And I thought if I joined a national organization like this, it would come at least into the map, and maybe I would also be able to bring these stories to the forefront, and finally people would understand, okay, where is Kalimpong exactly? And so yeah, that was my motivation.
Nice. Thank you so much. Kalpana?
For me, I think the major source of motivation to join this council was to understand what are the kind of things, or what are the kind of work that people are doing in the sector of water. When we talk of water, it's quite a big domain, of course, but at the same time, our knowledge sometimes, I feel, is very limited when we talk of water. We look at it from maybe a crisis perspective, or maybe like, pollution perspective, but there are so many other things which people are doing and contributing towards. So I think that was my first thing. Second, I also wanted to understand that, for example, if you want to pursue this as your career, and if not as like your sole career, if you want to do this just as a passion also, so how do you find that time, and what are the kind of activities that you could engage in? And another thing that I want to give it as a suggestion, I think not as a pure suggestion, the initiative of having Water Fest that's been done, I think that is a very good effort from our end to meet physically. Since we keep on meeting virtually, we have had like, a lot of sessions, but when you meet in person, the conversations are very different. There is more of an organic flow of the conversation that when you sit with the person one-on-one. So I think those kind of activities that we are doing, I see that as like one of a good initiative. And as a major suggestion, I don't really have anything else. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you, Kalpana. Good to see you on the other side, because you have also conducted these programs in the past. So I'm very happy to have you as a speaker and today, and I'm sure you are enjoying the heat of being the speaker than being the host today. So Proshakha, and for all the audience, we are going to open the floor to you very soon. Just give us a moment with our last round of questions. Thank you so much for your patience. I'm sure you are enjoying the conversation. Proshakha, sorry.
Yes, so I have a similar answer to that of Radhika and Kalpana. My main motive was also to know what people around at many places they're doing, and how I can also contribute in a similar manner. And as a suggestion, I would say that as Kalpana mentioned, the water fest that we are doing, that's quite a good thing that also helps us to meet each other personally and know more. I would say that since we have so many minds together, if we can do something like we are already discussing and trying to innovate, if we can do something that is also impactful on ground in whatever way, and I don't know how exactly we can do it, but if we keep it in mind and if we try to bring about some impact, little or not, if we can just think of something in that line.
Yeah, thank you, Proshakha. Thank you so much. You are almost becoming also a shadow of all our activities at W4W. So good to hear your thoughts here. Let me just take the last round of questions, Vandana, with your due permission, and then you may open the floor to people. And my last round of question is very simple. It's a shout from you to your peer group, which is younger generation, and on two major aspects. One is what's there in the water sector that they are missing or they should join. And I have learned the word FOMO from you people. So how they can really feel more contented in the water sector, or whether they should or they should not join. And the second part is with your generation, how can we really expedite the gender gap? So in other words, what they should be doing, all girls and boys, all, and other genders as well, to engender the water sector. So the last question has two simple questions. So I don't think it's difficult for you to give a shout to your peer group. So over to you. Maybe we just change the sequence again, and we can start with now Kalpana, and then Shreya, Proshakha, and we will end with Radhika in this round. Kalpana.
First of all, I think this entire, having the first round of nominations from WICCI to now reaching here, having so many talks with so many of the, WICCI members.
Six rounds, 6 rounds. Just that you get updated because you have been busy last 3 rounds.
Yes. Okay. So I think that is like a big motivating factor when we are busy in our lives or whatever we are doing. I think once we even see a post or a YouTube video, when we see, so I think that just installs that instinct that, okay, you are a part of something, and it keeps you like, on track, even if you're not contributing actively or whatever it is, but you are aware that, what you are here for. And what was the second question, ma'am?
how to engender, I mean, what are the things one should be doing in your generation to reduce this gender gap?
Okay. So thank you for repeating the question, ma'am. So I think most importantly, as Proshakha has mentioned, was the fact that, just to talk about water, it is not something that we can segregate on the basis of water, how neutral it is. Similarly, everything else that we are doing in our lives has also become more or less gender fluid. So in our generation, we have seen quite a lot of changes, to say the least. But to ensure that, no sector or no domain is very gender specific, we have to not compete against each other. The mindset that we have somewhere today, when we are saying that, women leadership is lesser, we are seeing that in terms of having how many men members are there in the leadership position. So definitely it gives us that stats to understand where we stand today, but we need to understand that since we are in a society, one cannot go ahead without the support of the other one. So we have to build this very collaborative thought process, and also our actions have to be very collaborative, where we are promoting whoever that person is in their expert field or where their interest lies. So not to just compete against each other, but rather to have that feeling of solidarity and helping and lifting each other in whichever domain where we expect ourselves to be in.
Yeah, very well put. So we have to be in the complementing mode rather than conflicting mode. And I hope men also listen to these kind of conversations and really help that accommodation, because whether we like it or not, if we have limited seats and positions, when we talk about leadership, when we talk about other things, if more women are to be accommodated, some men have to leave. So that's a simple math. And how do we do that? That's matter of time, as Radhika said. So Shreya?
So I think your first question was what are my peers missing out by not being in the water sector, if I'm right?
Yes.
Okay, so I think I have so much for that. So I think just working, I know it's a very difficult field, and our education system has pushed us to be in a rat race, and this also to me was something so new, as in only after my master's did I even think. I did my BTech earlier, and only after my master's and after reading and understanding did I actually feel like it's just so amazing to work for nature, for you're in water, in forest, you're reading about it. It's so fulfilling, right? Because nature is selfless. I mean, you're working for something that is absolutely selfless, and it's just doing its job, and it's just doing its own thing. And there is just so much that you can learn from it, and you can put it in your own life. I think it has really helped to work with nature, even though most of my work is on the laptop and doing research and creating maps. I think just that satisfaction and the fact that, okay, I'm doing this because it's going to create pure air, fresh water, rich soil, and and it's going to benefit me also, in some
Yes.
way. So I think that way is that's something that I think my peers are going to be missing out if they're not going to be working with this field, because though economically I would say, still it is at a place where it should be, people in this sector should be paid much, much more and better.
Very well
not
said.
just a voluntary thing, because a lot of times this field does push you to do a lot of volunteerism, and but I think it's very fulfilling, and if I can do it, I would want to, I think I should do it. So the other thing is about engendering the water sector. I really don't know that much about it, but one thing that I've faced when I have gone for my field work and things is that, firstly, when I go and I'm speaking to a community, and I'm speaking and I'm talking to them, and I have, even though a lot of people see me as, okay, she's young, what would she know? She's a woman, I've gotten that many times. And I think we need more leaders. We need more people out there in the field to show people that, this is possible. You can do what I'm doing as well. You can be. So I think we need to equip ourselves much better, because we're also in a very unfair fight. But I think equipping ourselves better with more knowledge, and I'm not just talking about scientific knowledge, for me, knowledge, even when I create maps, knowledge for me is to be able to bring it into ground level, not just talk up there, but be able to understand the place. And I think that's really worked whenever I've spoken to communities. So I think we need to equip ourselves with these kind of skills and these kind of things, so that we can go into the communities and show the children out there, or the women out there, that okay, this is a possibility. And I think creating more and more leaders to also take with us and go and just be able to showcase that such knowledge is there, and you can do this. So yeah, that's my view.
Thank you. Thank you so much for these wonderful responses, Shreya. Yes, Proshakha.
In terms of addressing the gender gap, I would say that the only thing we as women we can do is just do our job. We need to do our job, and we need
Very
to do
well put.
it well. And since I come from a sports background, I would just say that cricket for us has always been a men's game. But now with women cricketers coming up, with women cricketers also scoring a century, it's an example to the world that there's a possibility, as Shreya also said. So as long as we continue to do good work, there'll be people who will look up to us. And in this way, the entire society will change one day. Maybe not today or tomorrow, but definitely with our work, we can change the society. We don't have to remove the men from their position, but we will just create a place for us. So I think this is the way how we can see this issue.
And your message to your peer group?
It's definitely, I would say that if they are not a part of this sector, they're missing out on a lot of knowledge. And more than that, they're missing out on the experience and the fun we have speaking to each other and knowing things from each other. So even if everyone is not a part of a council or a body, there's a lot they can just come to know about talking or discussing matters with us. And I feel in a way, everyone is a part of the water sector. Like,
yes,
that's a common thing for all.
Water connects. Yes, and no matter whatever field you work, water connects. Thank you so much, Proshakha. Radhika?
The first question about peers, what I would like to say to peers, I think it's a very I have a very personal answer to that. Is
yes, that is expected.
Because I feel for me, water is everywhere, right? As we mentioned, it's in every field, so it's also everywhere. So for me, it's outside my body, within my body. It's in the rivers. It's in my veins. And I think, therefore, when I'm working on anything which is related to water, for me, it's not something different from me. When I'm reading about water,
I relate with you.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm sure different people will have different ways of connecting with this idea. But for me, water is that element which helps me connect myself to the world, or the world around me. So that sense of connectedness, that sense of belongingness, that I'm very much part of this external and therefore internal, is I don't know, for me, if any other sector would have given me this sense of contentment. So that's very personal. So I feel someone who would like to who's still figuring out and would like to get a taste of what this means should definitely come into the water sector. And from the gender point of view, I think here I'd like to come to a very practical thing, and I think it comes with employment opportunities, because most of the employment opportunities in the water sector are still with very technical and technical professions, which is civil engineering and things like that, where unfortunately in India, we have gender disparity even in that sector. So that gets even further aggravated in the water sector then. So I think creation of employment opportunities, which where it's the skill set required is much more than just the technical knowledge of how to build a dam and a canal and a pipeline system, is I think that could help in bringing in more diversity into the sector. And with saying that, I also feel about gender, this is not just related to water, but I feel the previous generation has started working on it. So I think, as Proshakha mentioned, for us right now, it's to do our job well. And that would take a while, a lot of time and patience, but I think it will start showing slowly and eventually. But while that's working, alongside with that, if there are good employment opportunities which also pay decently well as compared to other professions, that would be a meaningful intervention to make it a reality. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Radhika. You have really put some, practical aspects into it, which is extremely important. And let me also just give a pinch of information and advice to all of you, you being a youth council. When we talk about leadership, when we talk about, being in the water sector, I mean, the statistics, we have to accept those statistics, whether we like it or not. And we are minority as women in the water sector. Having said that, we also have to be extremely careful. Who do we look up to as our inspiration, or what kind of leadership we are looking at in the water sector? Because leadership itself is a gender neutral role, but there are more men, whether we like it or not. So if we have to compete or complement with men, definitely it's a personal choice. It's a contextual situation where you are into, but important to learn and unlearn, importantly here, is what we should not be doing. Because when we look at the water crisis here, and when you correlate that crisis with the leadership which has been in the past, you very well know that there have been a lot of wrongdoings by the most men. So when we are talking about women leadership, an important aspect for women to learn is what we should not be doing, what men have been doing. So this is my piece of advice, to hold on to your feministic values. There is no point that we do the same things as men have done. And many, many examples are there where women have been acknowledged and appreciated when they have done something very similar to what men have done. So I'm not really naming anything about it, but this is something very, very, thin line, which every woman has to know. Because many women who have really reached the leadership position, many of them have even forgotten their womanhood, and they have started acting. So it's like a woman working like men. So we have to be extremely careful about it when we talk about women leadership, because woman means empathy. And that is something which we have to hold on to together. Women means inclusiveness. The very fact that we talk about sisterhood is the foundation of this whole council and network. So thank you so much, girls, and thanks, Vandana, for accommodating me. And I could not really stop myself from giving this warning point on women leadership, because I would not like to see a day when there are more women leaders who are acting like men. So I will be very careful and embarrassed to have started this initiative of women leadership and seeing more women in the man's role. So thank you so much, and over to you, Vandana. Maybe we open the floor for all the participants to question. I see the last question is actually more suitable to us, but I think rest of the participants can ask questions to our speakers. And if then time permits, I'm happy to take any question if it is there on overall.
Cool.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Mansi, for charging the discussions to this extent. And I know we are running short on time, so I really have to be quick with my asking questions. I had one question already from Kaustubh, so I'm taking the liberty of sharing that. Maybe one of the speakers could respond to that question. The question is, what do the guests think about practical implementation in cleaning rivers and plans to gather people for this cause? As perspective of a leader, as women, what will be the challenges? So maybe one of you can just quickly throw some light on that. Who would like to take that question?
I think I
Yes,
can. So, as part of TD, we've also done a cleanup on the 8 Mile River, right? So
Right.
the river here, and it was completely polluted, and there was a lot of garbage, because in the hills, usually people throw their garbage into the river, right? So we did the cleanup and all of that. And I think after cleanup is a good way to start, but not a great way to end. So I think after that, that's how this journey also started, where we were like, we can't just do cleanups. We need to do something else apart from that, right? And that's how we started this MRF, which is a material recovery facility. And we started segregating the waste and trying to put it in different. So that's a different thing. But what happens is, because plastic is something that you can see, right? And a lot of people are talking about plastic. You can see plastic, but the issue with water is so grave and so deep. It's what is happening to the wet waste that is coming from what is happening to the toilet waste, the acid we're putting into our rivers, the harmful soaps that we are using, and all those kind of things. And the whole concept of even flushing, I mean, there's so many things that need to be challenged, I think, continuously. When you're talking about cleanup, it is not just cleanup. Cleaning of rivers is not at all what it sounds like, but I think you need to go really deep into it and challenge a lot of things. When we talk about flushing, do we really need to spend 8 to 15 liters at a precious resource? And then comes the whole questioning of the whole Swachh Bharat mission as well, right? So I think when you come talk about cleanup, I think you need to start thinking about all of this, not just the plastic that you can see and take out, but also what you can't see and what we are actually putting into the river.
Right.
Is that the thing? Was there anything else?
No, that's fine. Maybe let me just quickly take up the second question, and here maybe all of you can shed some light on that, because our audience is very much interested in knowing what was the most challenging part of whatever you have accomplished so far. I think that kind of summarizes the whole discussion that we wanted to sort of carry out with each one of you today. Maybe we can start with you, Proshakha, then move to the others. We can keep the responses a little brief because we are running short on time.
So I feel the greatest challenge that I faced was the seriousness of the issue and the lack of awareness. Whenever I speak of it to anyone on field, people don't realize that it's high time that we should be acting on it. So I think this is one of the biggest challenge that we need to address, is that people should know that it is important. So
yes. Cool. So awareness. Kalpana?
So the biggest challenge that I feel I've faced is to ensure that, people understand and acknowledge that there is a problem. So unless we acknowledge that there is a problem, we cannot dive into solution or any discussion regarding it. So I think the fact that, we have a very carefree nature when we think of that, okay, there is a problem, even when we know, we don't admit, and we don't even admit that, we will also face the consequence of it. So to understand that there is a problem, acknowledging it at the same time, and also understanding that this will impact us and our future generation. So we have to be more responsible. That is one. And another, also as a woman, you face certain obstacles that, as a woman, when you go up and you talk, so I think there is less of seriousness with which you are taken. So I think that is one major issue that I've seen.
Cool. So last comment, maybe I'll take it from Radhika. The challenge?
I think Personally, the challenge, and I still don't have the answer, but for me is to keep myself motivated. Uh, and because like we read so many things in the research, or we come across so much research material, and I also sometimes feel we go back to living the same lifestyle, because unfortunately I am living in a city, I am living in an apartment which comes with its own infrastructure and other systems which are the are the reason for the problem. So in that space of constantly being in contradiction with oneself and with the work, uh, is quite demotivating at times. So I think that's a challenge that I keep facing very often, and I'm still searching for answer, because every time the answer is different. So
Yeah. So fine. Can I quickly get a comment from Shreya on your challenge?
I think for me, the biggest challenge has been my education. I think it has really put me back. I just couldn't go. I did not know my own language. That was just so horrible. It was just so horrible. I didn't know my language. I didn't know my culture. And I was going into the field and telling these people what to do. It was a very, very horrible experience. And I took a step back and I learned my language. I learned my culture. And then I could put myself back out there and actually relate. So for me, that was the biggest challenge.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think you guys have been very kind enough to acknowledge the challenges that you have encountered. And at the same time, what was one tip that you could offer to our, audience as well? I think Ela here is a young professional and wants to seek our guidance in terms of how the passion can translate to staying motivated, something which Radhika was also speaking about, and time and again other guests have also mentioned it. When one is getting started and running into hurdles of skills, expertise, experience, while the urgency keeps piling on. I know, Radhika, you have struggled on similar lines. Maybe you can shed some light that how you are coping with it on daily basis.
I think for me is going back to the start of this conversation, that this is the task in front of me right now, and this is what I can do, and I'm going to do this to the best of my capacity. And while doing that, also keeping this the sense of faith that every task that I come across in this process, whether it's about doing research on specific topic or writing an article or a report or going on field, everything is ultimately going to aid. Probably I don't see the results today, but they are helping me build my expertise. So constantly reminding myself that being in the moment,
Yeah.
and not overthinking the process, I feel is something that I have tried to keep doing, and that keeps me sane and grounded, at least for time being. And with that saying that, I'm also realizing that I need to probably go deeper into different aspects, because there's so many aspects to water. It's not just science or social science or a technique, but everything together. So constantly being in the process that, okay, I have to be a student and keep learning. So these are certain things that keep me sane in these.
We have already got a comment on Shreya on similar lines. Maybe Proshakha and Kalpana, if I could quickly hear from either of you.
I feel that for me, knowing what I'm doing and knowing the cause for why I'm walking is the biggest motivation that keeps me going.
Kalpana, any thoughts?
I think now with all the experience, talking about education or not learning from education, what was needed. I think the combination of the two pushes me to, be at a place where I think I can do justice to the kind of education I have got, and also to justice to the kind of things that I have not learned through my education. So I think to fill in that gap is something that, motivates me.
Wonderful. I think we are just bang on time, so I wouldn't take too much time from the audience now. And my heartfelt gratitude to each one of you for having shared your thoughts, your viewpoints so lucidly through the conversation. This has been one of the unstoppable conversation, if I were to put it. We really don't want to close, to be very honest, and this has also been well attended by guests here. So huge thanks to our audience also who has joined us and has been there throughout the session and for raising wonderful questions as well. Before I close down, let me just acknowledge that this Monday Munching activity has been very inspiring for each one of us. We keep doing it on every Monday, 5 p.m. Dr. Mansi has already shared the details of our different social media handles. Please stay tuned to our conversations even in future as well. And we will keep coming back to each one of you time and again. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your viewpoints here today. Thanks, Mansi. You may pause the recording now,
Yeah.
perhaps.
Thank you. Thanks, girls. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.